And we're live and on the air, and this is the TWIS Minion Science Island Hangout. And I'm Ed Dyer, as anyone who has watched this show has seen. And also joining me is a regular, the regulars, Chelsey. Yes, Chelsey. There's Chelsey playing with her mom, Pamela,
Hello.
from Australia.
How are you
And
doing?
Justin Jackson will be joining us sometime after what would be 9 p.m. for me, and another 15 minutes, half an hour or so. I don't think Dale Liebrick, our Canadian buddy, will be with us, but we have tons of science stories to talk about. One I really like, and that this is not new, kind of confirmation we know, but how music and language shape the brain. They help train our brain to listen. So that's a real plus, listening to music. Get your kids listening to music, which I know Pamela's doing. I threw this one in. It's talking about it's Christmas time, and a bunch of scientists got together and they looked at the old MRI and they say they've localized, they have identified the Christmas spirit in the brain. And this study was written by a PR guy, but I thought it was fun, and we can talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to get into climate and climate technology. A story, this is out of Ulysses, is from West Virginia. And the University of West Virginia is looking into how to use the acid mining drainage that's left over after the companies have mined coal, and being able to recycle that and use it to produce rare earth elements. And in the case of the United States, we don't have any rare earth elements, so we have to import them all. So if this technology works, we're getting something useful out of this coal mining acid drainage stuff. A little fun one, I thought. And if you're looking for a Christmas present, well, these guys have invented some wearable energy generator. It's a urine-powered, can't think of the word, a urine-powered stocking energy, so that your urine will help your stocking produce energy for if you're carrying an iPod. I don't know, something weird. I thought that was a bit fun. And hey, you want a good Christmas present? I don't know. I got it. Then we'll get into the rants, and hopefully Justin will be there about the climate change rants. And after that, we'll get into a non-spoilery Star Wars discussion. And we got some other stuff if we have time after that. But I'm going to talk about a couple of things hot off the press. And hot off the press from our friends at the LCH. And let me see if I can screen share this once again so you guys don't have to look at my head while I'm talking. There we go. Some fancy picture there. And a little wiggle in a graph representing just a handful of particles has set the world of physics abuzz. And it has. This is really exciting stuff if you're a physicist. Scientists at the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland reported yesterday that their machine might have produced a brand new particle not included in the established laws of particle physics known as the Standard Model. That's exactly what we need. The Standard Model is obviously not complete. You got a whole blank space of gravity. We have no clue about gravity. We need to find these new particles that just don't fit the laws as we understand them. Excuse me. The results, based on the data collected between April and November, are now They're too inconclusive to be sure. Many physicists warn that the wiggle could just be a statistical fluke, but it has already spawned 10 new papers, 10 new papers on physics in less than a day, talking about what it could be. There is kind of partial confirmation that it's not just a fluke. I'll get into that a little bit later. And a guy named Adam Flewowski, a physicist at the Institute of Theoretical Physics in Warsaw, said it's something we've been waiting for a long time. We are aware it could be nothing but my generation. This is the first time there is a very large, quite reliable signal of physics beyond the standard model. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and this is not that yet. If it is a new particle, however, the question is looming large. What is it? The particle must weigh roughly 750 giga-electron volts, and that's about 750 times the mass of a protein. So it's got a lot of mass, and would fall into the class of bosons, meaning that it has an integral value. I don't know what that means. And some theorists say it's a cousin to the Higgs boson. And I can understand that because you're talking about a very massive particle. And the Higgs boson is the most massive particle that we've been able to experimentally know about. First started showing up as a blip in the data about 4 years ago. The most striking thing about the results is that 2 experiments at the LCH, the ATLAS experiment and the CMS experiment for compact muon solenoid, which use different setups and conduct wholly separate analysis of their independent sets of data, saw signs of roughly the same thing. It's a significant excess in ATLAS alone, and that would be very interesting by itself. However, additional credence is given by the fact that the 2 experiments saw the same thing. The signal at ATLAS amounted to about 10 particles more than would be expected if it was just background. And they found that after 1 billion proton collisions. CMS saw roughly 3. The tallies may sound meager, but the experiments are so sensitive and have such precise predictions for the particles of any given mass that you don't find them until you do bazillions of collisions. So they got something. And even if it isn't a brand new particle, they found something.
Yeah. She's going to sleep, so I can't talk too definitely. But yeah, that's very exciting.
And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for us to get excited. For me, I mean, and I know Justin, if Justin pops in and hopefully he's read about this a little bit, that's exactly the kind of thing I know he's looking for. You have this idea, the standard model, and here's the explanation. And it can't explain gravity. We have no clue what dark matter is. We don't know what dark energy is. And we have to find these new things that just don't fit in anywhere. And that's really how we're going to find out, get the explanation to all this other stuff we really don't know a whole lot about. And the other exciting thing is, of course, you now got work for all these physicists. They can have all this grant money. You already published 10 papers. They can say, hey, give me buckets of money so I can go and explain. So it's kind of the physicist employment discovery as well.
I was just thinking that they justified their jobs for another year. Yeah.
Think about. I mean, the LCH. You know, you guys, you spent umpteen $billion. What the heck you do? You got to show you did something, and here you go.
But that's the thing, because we went on the tour there, and they do, because it is government, it is citizen funded from taxes and everything, and they're completely transparent. Anyone can walk in and see exactly what they're doing every day. So they show it all the time. But yeah,
I forgot you were there.
I was there. Yeah, a year ago. This week it was 1 year ago this week.
Wow. So there, you know what? Maybe if you were there, maybe I don't know how much grant money you got, but maybe you can get them to name it the Chelsey particle, perhaps.
Well, there's an Alice experiment there. So I got a photo of an Alice experiment because her name is Chelsey Alice. So I said, she's the Chelsey Alice experiment, and they've just done the Alice experiment. Yeah, no, I didn't get any grant money. I was just a tourist. Yeah. But it was. I did an interview with one of the scientists there, so that was good.
And hopefully, when Justin shows up, we can also talk a little bit about this, because I'm sure it is. As I said, it is the exact kind of thing that he's looking for. And hot off the press, this is really exciting news for all of us, particular lovers of the NASA space project. Congress has approved increased funding, and actually they've approved, well, they haven't, I don't quite exactly understand what they've done, but I've screwed up. I'm pushing buttons all over the place. Okay. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right.
Just gave NASA the budget.
Sorry, that's me pressing the wrong buttons all over the place.
All right.
But
that looked like the course you were looking at.
And this is from one of our favorite sites. It's quoted quoted quite often in Facebook. It's the IFLS site, or I Love Fucking Science. And they say, good news, everyone. NASA's latest budget has been put forward by Congress, and they have allocated the agency $750 million more than was requested. This means the agency's full budget for 2016 is about $19 billion. And that's almost $1 billion. That is almost $1 billion more than last year. The budget increased funding to several key programs at NASA, including its Commercial Crew Program, its Space Launch System rocket, and the Orion spacecraft. We're going back into space with Americans on American rockets, and we're going to go to Mars. Hooray. Maybe we can stop off at the moon first. Perhaps most interestingly, $175 million of the budget has been set aside for the Europa multi-flyby mission, a spacecraft that will be sent to Europa in the early 2020s. 2020s is not that far away. And the budget dictates NASA must include a lander for the surface. That would be fantastic. This mission shall include an orbiter with a lander that will include competitive, selective instruments, and that funds should be used to finalize the mission design concept. Man, that's something I can really excited about, because I want to visit Europa. That is, now, I don't personally think there's much of a chance of life, Earth-like life, being found inside our solar system. But if it is, Europa would be one of the leading candidates. And the large amount of funding allows NASA to meet most of its other goals it has set for itself. $1.243 billion going for the Commercial Crew Program, which they've been pushing hard for. The administrator and administrator, said he counted on this, getting SpaceX and Boeing's manned spacecraft up and running. Elsewhere, planetary science has received the boost in the form of 1.63 billion, 260 million more than had been requested for the Planetary Society that allows both the Mir Opportunity rover and the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter to continue space operations. The huge SLS, which Congress seems very keen to overfund, has been given an additional $2 billion, and that's $640 million above what was requested by the president, and it'll eventually be used to take humans to Mars. The budget still has to pass a vote in Congress. Now, this is the politics, how the politics of Congress works. In order to get the bill, the Republicans have a majority in the House of Representatives and a majority in the Senate. So what they included in the bill, some people say snuck into the bill, was something that allows surveillance, a controversial surveillance bill. And, this is politics, playing politics. They probably had to include that bill to get it passed, get enough Republican votes to get it passed. Let me click on this link. What the heck is this controversial bill? Spying, blah, blah, blah. Omnibus bill. Congress is blah, blah, blah. It's meant to be a cybersecurity bill that will allow companies like Facebook, Verizon, and Google to work with the government security agencies to mitigate damage from a breach, because the bill offers vast immunities to these companies for handling over user data. Many see it as much more than just a security bill. It's not so good. But so we can get excited for both NASA and the Department of Homeland Security.
But it comes down to don't put personal stuff on Facebook, people. You have to assume everything you put on the internet in any way, shape, or form can be made public knowledge, or used against you by a government or a company or insurance or anything. So just don't post your really personal stuff, and don't post it and then delete it, because nothing is ever actually deleted from the internet. You can't delete it. So just don't put it on there in the first place. Yeah. Keep your private stuff private. I don't even have data on my phone. My mobile phone. My mobile phone is just for phone calls and text. Not that texts are secure, but anyway, neither are phone calls for that matter. But but the data on a mobile phone is the least secure thing, and people are sending photos of goodness knows what to each other, and you have to assume that could be made public. So just don't do it. Anyway, rant over. So yeah, anything I have on Facebook, go for it. Try and use it against me. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. I'll post anything.
My real life.
I'll talk about
my
anything.
Real life.
But I'm 72 years old and retired. So what are they going to do to me?
But I don't put my very, 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 very personal things on there at all. Yeah.
I completely agree, and I really cringe when I think of this internet generation. The 20-year-old, the teenagers, the stuff they post. It really can come back to haunt them.
People my age put very personal things on there, and I just think, yeah, I really didn't need to know that about you. Thanks. Anyway.
And the videos. Okay, I don't know, there's one of the apps I never use it, Vine, I think it is, where supposedly the Vine, it's like 5, I don't know, seconds or whatever, and then it goes away forever. Well, guess what? It ain't going away forever, I don't believe. So you want to show a picture. I mean, years ago, okay, you go to the Xerox machine, you take a picture of your butt. Okay, maybe you got to be careful about what you do with the picture. Now you put a Vine on. I don't know that that's.
my butt's out there. That's fine.
Oh, you did a commercial. I saw that. Remember, you did some kind of a commercial about an activist thing. So.
Yeah, but stop NDAA. Yeah. So my butt's out there. But that's fine. I don't care. I've got a good butt. So, yeah. And it was painted.
That was even, as I recall, a little S&M, if I'm not mistaken, a little restraint thing going on. I don't know.
Well, wasn't S&M. Yes, I was gagged and shackled because that's what the NDAA is doing to journalists. Lack of, like, you can't. There's no. We won't get into that, but it's like a freedom of speech. So I was showing this is what it's doing to journalists.
A new person has joined us in the chat room, Rights for Robots, who is in last night's chats. Hello, Rights for Robots.
Hi.
Let us know if you want to talk about anything. If you have any comments there, just post them in the chat room. I'm watching the chat room in my iPad, so I can keep on. I see Chelsea speaking in.
No, that's her doll.
Chelsea, don't post anything on Facebook.
No, that's her doll. She's asleep.
Ooh, that's her doll. Ooh, that's a scary doll. That's a scary Barbie doll looking doll.
No, it's just a regular doll. She's not Barbie. I wouldn't buy Barbie for her. I don't think she's scary looking.
I'm just surfing around to see if anybody. No, haven't heard from anybody else. Haven't heard from Justin, and I haven't heard from Dale. So I will go on to the next story. And this is neat, and I know this is something that you already practice with Chelsea, and that is using music to help stimulate her brain. Now let's see if I can do the old screen share without. There we go. That's a much better picture than looking at me. Where did I put this? Ladies and gentlemen, delete. As per usual, I have screwed up the story lineup. Don't worry, folks. Hang on for a second. I'll get it here somewhere. I put on the Christmas story thing. Oh, the heck with it. I will read it from here. And I heard a bell somewhere. I heard a bell in my background.
Oh, did you?
That's you, Pamela.
Oh, that was me.
Okay, guys, let me get back here. Let me get back to Hangout. And there's a picture of Nina Kraus. And she has pioneered a way to measure how the brain makes sense of sound, suggesting that the brain's ability to process sound is influenced by everything from playing music and learning a new language to age, language disorder, and hearing loss. During her 15-minute talk, she explained how she was able to solve a major problem in the field by devising a new way to measure what happens in the brain when it's processing sound. The sound of our lives changes our brain. That's huge. In our lab, we investigate how our life in sound changes the brain and how different forms of enrichment or decline influence how our brain processes sound. To measure the brain's response to sound, the researchers played speech or music directly into the ears of study volunteers. The scientists then measured the electricity created in the brain as it translates sound through sensors attached to participants' heads. Results from a series of studies involving thousands of participants from birth to age 90 suggest that the brain's ability to process sound is influenced by everything from playing music to learning a new language, language disorders, and hearing loss. Studies indicate that across the lifespan, people who play, this is not new, people who actively play music can hear better in noise than people who don't play music. We can shut out the background noise. Krauss's work also suggests that poverty and a mother's educational level can affect a child's ability to process the essential parts of sound. We're able to look at how the brain processes essential ingredients in sound, which are rooted in pitch and timing and timbre. A mixing board is a good analogy. It's very fine-tuning. The newfound ability to measure sound processing in the brain has led to other important discoveries in neuroeducation. Moving out of the lab, they have conducted studies in schools, communities, centers, and clinics. And they had some other findings they've listed. They discovered biological approach to measure an individual sound's processing with unprecedented precision. The way a pre-literate child processes the ingredients of sound, pitch, timing, and timbre, can predict future reading ability. Sound processing disadvantages can be partially offset by making music as well as speaking another language. Engagement matters. The brains of children who were more actively involved in these lab studies saw more robust challenges. Sound processing in the brain can be a neurological marker for issues such as autism, dyslexia, and learning delays. Making sense of sound is one of the most computationally complex tasks we ask our brains to do because we're processing information in a millisecond. It's not surprising that one of the first problems we encounter with so many disorders, you get hit in the head, you have a psychotic problem, or simply getting older, is understanding sound in a complex environment, like hearing a friend's voice in a noisy place. Sound processing in the brain is a real measure of brain health.
That's good. That means I'm doing everything right without even knowing.
And in the okay, Rights for Robots said that he has had a hard time sleeping. But you know what, Rights for Robots, maybe if you listen to music, maybe a little background music or something, help you sleep.
Do you know what is good, Rights for Robots, is listening to rain sounds. You know, on YouTube you can get, 10-hour rain on a tent is one of my favorites. You can just look it up, rain on a tent, and you can get a 10-hour thing, and you just sleep so well. That's using sound.
Got it. This the kind of study, again, we're talking about the ability to measure stuff. And the more we're able to more precisely measure stuff, we learn better, much better. That's what leads to those big leaps. And now that we can precisely measure the brain processing sound, that's where, the guy suggested we can do things like, maybe emphasize that. Maybe let our children at an earlier age learn how to process sound. And that's what you're doing. And you're training Chelsey in how to process sound and learning how to, when she gets older, how to filter out, how to key in on the important sounds and filter out background noise.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess I'm doing that. I only speak English. I don't speak anything else fluently, but I will definitely be getting her tutored in another language. I haven't decided which one or which languages yet, but that's part of it as well. I mean, learning a language and another, being bilingual or multilingual from a young age, exercises a part of your brain that nothing else can. And if you don't do it at a young age, even doing it older, when you're older, it's just not the same. So that's all part of the sounds. And also, what is it? I think it's by age 6. If you don't hear certain sounds, you will, above by a certain age, you will never be able to pronounce them properly, regardless of how good you are at languages later on. So Chelsey's heard lots of different languages, so those sounds are in there somewhere. So when she wants to learn other languages later on, she should be able to pronounce them better than I can.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at the chat room. I thought Mike was my friend. And there he says, he's telling rights, Ed will put you to sleep. I don't know. I'm sure he meant that in a good way. Yeah, that language thing. Growing up in the 1950s and even into the 1960s, there were kids that took language classes, but really, compared to Europe, obviously, Americans really mostly knew one language. And there wasn't a lot of emphasis on learning another language. And I know, for instance, as more Spanish people moved into the country, and as more people got Spanish friends, it became bilingual, simply so they could, understand and talk with their friends. And so my perception is more younger Americans, 30 and under, do speak more than one language compared to people in my age bracket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, depending on what part of the country. I've got a friend who born in Portland, grew up in Nevada, lives here now, and he speaks a fair bit of Spanish because he learned it at school and had Spanish-speaking friends. But I suppose if you lived more to the north, you wouldn't have so many Spanish-speaking friends, so you wouldn't learn it.
Well, I think you have Spanish populations just about everywhere. It's also interesting to take note that in China, in their schools, English is a mandatory language. So you don't have a choice. And, I would kind of like to see that at least in American high schools, making a second language mandatory.
It's it's only mandatory here for the first year of high school, and then it's an option to continue with the language afterwards. So you have to have a taste of it, but if you don't want to, you don't have to continue.
Wiz Mike in the chat room's asking you, what about the Aboriginal languages?
Yeah, they should be taught in schools, but they're not. No, but they're active amongst Aboriginal people, but they're not taught in schools. Although that would be something that I would advocate for. Should I ever get into politics properly?
In the United States, and I haven't been in school for many, many years, but you have the Native American cultures. They teach about them, certainly, and you may have a teacher who can go into a little bit more details, but the books, particularly from states like Texas, they don't really, they give the European view of the colonization of America, and they don't really go much into, if you're reading the textbooks, you're not really going to get a good background on really, the cultures of the Native Americans and what they went through. Is anything? Do you think the Australian schools do any better job?
No, terrible job. And I was going to say the other thing with Australian Aboriginal languages is that there were hundreds of tribes in Australia, and a lot of them, because because Australia is huge, a huge landmass, and it's estimated that there were only about half. How many was it? Oh gosh, I'm not even going to quote a number, but the number of Aboriginal people that were here before white people came and slaughtered them was minimal enough that some of the tribes were not aware of other tribes. Right, so they're nomadic, so they're always moving around the country, but not necessarily running across each other. And so they actually had different languages, so it's not as if you can go and learn Aboriginal Australian language, because we're talking about hundreds of different dialects. So what I would like to see implemented is the traditional language of each area in the local schools, at least as an option. And so, you'd get a traditional owner of the land to come in and teach that. And that should be open for not just Indigenous Australians, but anyone who wants to learn it. But we'll see.
Well, the kind of thing, and again, okay, the later grades, high school, I mean, I got to believe if you're doing archaeology in college or something, you go out and visit, or sociology, you go out and visit one of these communities as close to the way Indigenous people lived in the past, and that you really need that firsthand look, I think, more than a textbook, and more than even bringing in some guy, maybe an Aboriginal person, could be brought in and could talk, but going out there in the field, I think would be a big help.
But see, that's the thing. Traditionally, so it might be different from Native Americans. Traditionally, they're nomadic, so it's not as if you can't just go out to a community that's untouched, because they move around. They're not going to be where they were before. So I don't mean to sound pessimistic. I'm not even sure if any still exist untouched, and if they do, they should be left alone and not have people come out and tour there. I think they've had enough white people interference. So that's what I mean. If the traditional owners of the land want to teach it, they should be allowed to, and they should be given the tools and the funding that they need. I don't know. It's just a really difficult one, because they tried to basically breed out Indigenous Australians, and because they're recessive genes, so it only takes about 3 generations for very little to no evidence of heritage, physical heritage, to be seen, and that's what they were trying to do. So
I saw a movie about that, and I don't remember the name of the movie, about a young girl. She was taken away from her family. What?
Was it Reef Fence?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
And, she escaped. And the thing was, the guy, I don't know if he was English or Australian, who came in to run the programs, he really thought he was doing them a favor. He was really saying, you got to learn how to become a European, because this is a Europe. He really honestly thought he was helping them out.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, a lot of them did. Yeah. So what that led to is there's very few Indigenous Australians who are pure Indigenous Australians now, because they were so interfered with, that I think any that are still pure Indigenous Australians, if they want to be left alone, they should just be left alone, given whatever they need, and yeah, don't continue to interfere with them.
Here's another thought. I mean, Australia's a desert country, and here in the United States, parts of the country, we're talking about water shortages. Indigenous people learned how to survive very well, and you have even the Native American tribes. I mean, they learned how to do well with less water.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they know how to find water. The thing is that a lot of the desert was used in World War II for well, post-World War II actually, for testing nuclear bombs. So the US Army actually dropped a bunch of bombs out there to test. So it's not going to be safe land for another 5,000 years or so. So that's what they did. So about 1950, right? This is the thing. It gets me. 1950 or so, they dropped all these nuclear bombs, testing them, and then in 2000, so 50 years later, the papers become declassified. So just before they became declassified, they did this whole "I'm sorry" thing and gave the land back to the indigenous people. And then it comes out, oh yeah, it's radioactive.
Hey, gave them radioactive land. Hey,
just scumbags, man.
You know, they did pretty much the exact same thing in the United States. What would happen is, okay, there'd be well, first we went in, the Europeans came in, and they took control. Okay, and things like they wanted to build a railroad, so well, got to get rid of buffalo. And the buffalo is what the Plains Indian lived on. So you got to wipe out the buffalo so we can build our little train track. And now you've completely, and they were nomads. And there goes their way of life. And then they'd say, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm sorry. We had to take this area over here. We opened it for settlers. But here's this mountain over here with very little, nobody lives there because nobody wants to live there. Here, that's all yours. Next thing that happens is gold. And then they go back and say, well, you know, we kind of need this gold. So, you know, we're going to kind of let our settlers go in. And, you know, and the bottom line is the Native Americans who end up with the worst possible. You know, the reservations, they do have reservations. They can, you know, they control what happens in their reservations. But they were put in the worst possible places, and you know, there's not much. A lot of them grow sheep and things like that. They make blankets and things that they can sell to the tourists. But the one thing that has happened is because they control the territory, there's laws against running casinos in most states. Those laws don't apply to the reservations. So now they can open up casinos. And now because you mentioned how inbreeding, now you have people, there's, I don't know what it is. I think you need 1/20th of Native American blood. Like if you have a casino here in Connecticut and the particular tribes that runs the casino, everybody says, oh, I'm an Indian. Hey, I'm an Indian. I got Indian blood. My grandmother's an Indian because they all own a piece of the action. They have to prove, and I don't know, it's maybe only like 1/20th. You know, there might even among the tribal people, you know, there's probably a very small percentage that are 100% Native American.
Yeah. Oh, good for them. They're getting their money back from the gamblers.
Do you remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Did a Thanksgiving. Oh, wait, we're going to show how the Pilgrims helped out and we're friendly with the Indians. Hooray. You know, well, Buffy the Vampire Slayer did a Thanksgiving episode, I think it was. And, you know, one of the Native Americans in California, his ghost or something came back and he was killing people. And she doesn't want to kill him. She's saying, hey, you can have casinos now. And I'm getting somebody's sending me a message. No, Justin can't make it. Oh, sad face.
Yeah, sad face. I never watched the TV show. I watched the movie, and Justin was in that movie.
He was. What was he?
He was just an extra. He was dancing with his then girlfriend in real life on the dance floor at the prom scene at the end or something. So, yeah. So Justin's in that movie. So yeah, I've seen that movie, but I haven't. I've never watched the TV show, but I get the gist.
Yeah. The movie. I liked the movie, but it had more of a comical element to it than the TV series did, and that's the thing. I think Joss Whedon had problems with the interference in terms of making that movie the way he wanted to make it. I can't even think of the guy who played her guide. I can't think of them, Giles. In the movie, it's played by, and I can't forget the actor's name, and he just didn't want to play it the way the director Whedon wanted to, and he just went off into a completely different. Pee Wee Herman was in that, I think.
Oh, really? Okay, I can't remember. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's the thing. It's funny. Did you watch Big Bang Theory?
No.
No. Oh, okay. I'll just say. So there was an episode where, so if anyone watching, there was an episode where Sheldon asks, the reason he and his girlfriend broke up was because he asked her if, he said, I have to ask you a really important question, and she's thinking, okay, he's going to propose or something, and he asks her if she thinks he should start watching, I think it was the TV show The Flash, and she goes, that's your question? And the thing is, like what he was explaining was, it's a compliment to her that he's asking her opinion, because once you start watching it, you're committed. And what if the thing runs for 5 or 10 seasons? That's it. You've got to see it through, right? So once you start watching these things, you're stuck. And that's how I feel about TV shows, which is why I limit myself to just a couple of good ones. So I never committed myself to Buffy. And it ran for a really long time, I think, didn't it? You're muted.
But I don't know how many seasons, but I got the DVDs. I don't know, like that. But now on Netflix, you can just, yeah.
But that's the thing. Once you start, I have to see it through. But just we were talking before we came on. We were talking about TV shows, and I said I'm watching the miniseries Heroes Reborn, just because I watched Heroes. So now I have to see it through. I'm committed. Otherwise, I'd always wonder, should I have watched that? So yeah, I never saw Buffy.
Yeah, again, trying to trust my memory, but we talk about kick-ass female heroes on television. The first one I can think of was Xena, Princess Warrior. And then I think
what about Wonder
Buffy.
Woman?
Okay, yes, you're right. Yeah, I guess Wonder Woman did predate Xena. It probably was Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Linda Carter.
Yeah, Linda Carter, yeah. Yeah, she kicked butt. She's awesome.
So we've had an evolution in that particular regard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and now we're watching Supergirl.
And you saw Star Wars. I really wanted Justin to be here, but okay, we're going to talk about Star Wars quite a little bit later, certainly. Non-spoilery. So if you're watching us right now, we're going to get into non-spoilery Star Wars talk. Because I'm interested. I haven't seen the movie. I won't see the movie until it comes to Netflix. Pamela has seen the movie. So we'll talk in very general details about it. Now, the other thing that's happening. There's actually something happening besides a Star Wars premiere. It's Christmas. Christmas is happening as well. And this is a story put together by the PR department at this Copenhagen University. So I don't know real. There was an actual study this is based on, but this is I take this with a bit of a grain of salt. It's not groundbreaking, but it is interesting, and it's going to lead into my thoughts on Christmas, because I'm kind of mentioned in this particular my view of Christmas is kind of mentioned in this particular story. And let me do the old screen share. Okay, there we go. The picture of a brain. A little green, the little spots. I guess that's Christmas spirit. I don't know. And it says here, the Christmas spirit has been located in the human brain. And This is the Christmas spirit, which is a widespread phenomenon, blah, blah, blah. The authors of the study estimate that millions of people are prone to displaying Christmas spirit deficiencies, referred to as the bah humbug syndrome. Accurate localization of the Christmas spirit is a paramount first step in being able to help this group of patients. Like, we need help. You know, maybe the rest of the world needs a little help here, guys. So the team of researchers from Rigspotten Hospitalet or something, a hospital affiliated with Copenhagen University, attempted to locate the Christmas spirit in the brain using MRI. The study involved 10 participants who celebrated Christmas and 10 healthy participants who lived in the same area but had no Christmas traditions. All of the participants were healthy. They did not consume eggnog or gingerbread before the scans. Now, come on. If you're talking about celebrating Christmas, particularly if you're talking about visiting some families, you got to include vast quantities of alcohol. Not saying anything about my family, of course. Images were displayed for 2 seconds each, and after 6 consecutive images with a Christmas theme, there were 6 everyday images. After the scans, all participants filled out a questionnaire about their Christmas or traditions or non-tradition Christmas traditions. Based on this results, 10 participants who were allocated to the Christmas group, those who celebrated Christmas, had positive associations, and 10 to the non-Christmas group who did not celebrate it and had neutral feelings toward the festivities. Difference in the brain activity maps from the scan of the 2 groups were analyzed. They showed 5 areas where the Christmas group responded to Christmas images. These included the left primary motor and premortal cortex, right inferior, superior, partial labui or something like that, and the bilateral primary something or other cortex. These cerebral areas have been associated with spirituality, somatic senses, and recognition of facial emotions. In addition, blah, 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 for further research, it is necessary to understand the Christmas spirit and other potential holiday circuits in the brain. For us poor sufferers of the bah humbug syndrome.
Well, I just posted a link in our chat room there, Ed, about the God spot, which has been discussed on This Week in Science before. There's part of the brain that can be stimulated or whatever, and make you believe in God. Or if you're an atheist, that part of your brain is not stimulated. So that's another story. But I wonder if it's a bit like that part of your brain's being stimulated by Christmas, or it hasn't been. I don't know, I get accused of being a bit bah humbug-ish, but it's not that I'm bah humbug, it's I'm indifferent. So, for example, last year we didn't have Christmas because on Christmas Day, Chelsey and I were in the Middle East. So this is Chelsea's first Christmas. But last year we did have Hanukkah, and that was my first Hanukkah as well because we were staying with a Jewish family. So we participated in Hanukkah, which was cool. I really liked it. So, although I'm an atheist. So, my personal thing is I think I've written a blog post about this before, a bit ranty, but all the holidays should be, of all the religions or whatever, should be available to be celebrated and not just have Christmas shoved down my throat because some white Christian dudes dominated this country a long time ago. And if anything, I think Indigenous tradition should be celebrated widely here, not and bloody Santa in his red suit, and people coming up to my daughter in the shops and going, oh, Santa's coming soon. Well, I'm not telling her about Santa because I'm not lying to her. So, yeah. Anyway, we don't have a tree or anything like that. She's got some presents, but I'm always buying presents for her anyway, so it's not particularly Christmassy. I buy the obligatory presents for people who buy presents for us and do the whole Christmassy thing there. But I try and downplay the commercialism and the Christian side of it. I don't see the same people out doing, I don't know, Ramadan or something, Oh yeah, and I mean, where is Hanukkah here? I mean, there are Jews in Australia, but you don't see any mention of Hanukkah here. You do over there because of your affiliation with Israel. So Hanukkah's. But I mean, do you see Hanukkah stuff in the shops, or is it all just Christmas?
Uh-oh. I'm
What?
hearing an echo.
Oh no, I can hear you. You're fine.
Okay. Chat room, let me know if you can hear my echo. I don't go to the shops much. The ones I do go, yes, there's Hanukkah displays and a Hallmark. There's a Hanukkah area where you can get the Christmas cards and stuff. So yes, you see more of it for the exact reason you mentioned. Probably, I'm going to guess the Jewish population might be higher in the United States. You also now see, I don't remember that Kwanzaa, something that an African American started as an African tradition, celebrating this time of the year. So you see more of that in the United States, I'm going to guess. And I posted in Facebook, I got involved in a discussion on it because, like you, I'm not opposed to Christmas. And I think it's great that other people, enjoy it. But it's just not my thing. And like you, what happens, people have it, gee, did you put up your Christmas tree yet? Well, I don't have a Christmas tree. And they say, like it's a sad face. A couple of years ago, my neighbors, they're putting up all the Christmas lights. Hey, you putting up the Christmas light? No. Bah, humbug, I just don't want you, don't judge me because I don't want to celebrate it. If you want to celebrate it, terrific, But I'm also thinking about particularly the way it is celebrated in the United States, perhaps first world countries where it's shopping. And it's, the tradition becomes you got to get your kids presents and you got to get your kids buckets of presents. And there are way too many people. Okay, you got the money. Hey, you want to spend your money? Fine. But way too many people, they go into credit card debt so they can buy their kids buckets of presents like it's a tradition. And then the kids that they associate, they're going to be associating getting up on Christmas morning to grab and take a look at their presents. And that's, I don't see anything productive in that.
No, I'm not against Christmas. I'm against its dominance over other festivities, and just the commercialization. I mean, I've got a couple of things for Chelsey to unwrap on Christmas Day because they're from other people who have bought her presents, and that's lovely, and we appreciate that. So I'll keep them for Christmas Day. I actually had to wrap them because they just sent them to me, so I've wrapped them and I'll unwrap them. That's fine. But it's funny when this greenhouse that I'm sitting in now that I was waiting for to arrive last week. This is her playroom, and I had another one set up here, but it wasn't the right shape, and I bought it in a hurry because I can't anyway. So I'd taken that down, and I got a new one, and I love this one anyway. And so I set her playroom up again, and it's much more open. It's open on 4 sides, whereas the other one was only open on 2 sides. And so my neighbour mustn't have seen in. She must have looked at it from a different angle and not seen in before. And she said, oh, she's opened a Christmas present already. And I said, no, this is what she plays with all the time. Anyway, just the perception that because it's December, if you buy something, you have to save it for Christmas. I mean, I bought her a doll the other day because I watched that documentary about the male and female brains that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It just happens to be December. It's not a Christmas present. It's just, yeah. And just for example, a friend of mine whom I love, and don't get me wrong, she should do whatever she wants to do. And she had a kid not long before me. She's about my age. And she spent 5 months paying off a lay-by for Christmas presents. I mean, that's good. That means she didn't put it on credit, right? But, blimey. It's not even his first Christmas. I think it must be his second Christmas or something. 5 months. And I mean, you know, she works. She's got all right money, so it's none of my business what she spends on her kids. That's awesome. But it just must, yeah, I don't know. It must be a lot to spend 5 months paying something off on lay-by for Christmas.
And I don't know how many people go into credit card debt at Christmas time. Bunches. Mm. And the thing is, if you don't pay off the balance, that means you're getting whacked every month with maybe even up to a 20% interest charge. So your Christmas presents have now become even more expensive than you thought.
Yeah, it's funny. I'd rather just take her traveling. I mean, I took her to Indonesia, and she went. She loved, the monkey forest, all the monkeys and that. We don't have anything like that here. And I took a video of her with those monkeys, and I show her the video, probably about once a week, and she has, hey yeah, she loves it. And that's, that experience means more to her than any toy I could buy, for sure. Even though it might not be in her long-term memory because she's too young, she's got that video there forever. And, just other places I've taken her and that's something I'll continue to do. So from now, probably another year or so, she'll be starting to make these permanent memories that she can think back later and go, oh yeah, I did that. And that's what I'd rather spend my money on. And I think she has lots of toys personally. Maybe I know I had a fairly poor childhood, but maybe it was worse than I thought, because I think she has heaps. And one of my friend's kids came over the other day, and he's about a year older than her, and he was playing with what she had. But he was saying, where are the toys? And I said, this is it. Like, they're all around you. There are no toys. And there's like 100 different things around. But the cupboard that I pack her toys away in, so that you don't step on that, his mum was saying, oh, I need 3 of those. And I thought, okay.
That's a good point, because I don't consider us as having grown up poor. We had a roof over our head, food on the table, but my father couldn't afford Christmassy gifts. So when we visited the relatives, I always got clothing. People knew, they had to buy clothing for us, so I got my new clothes.
Yeah.
So, another thing about this Christmas spirit, the idea is people say, well, that's one time of the year where everybody is friendly, Merry Christmas, blah, blah, And my point is, if it's only happening once a year, so what? So what? You say, Merry Christmas, and the next day I go, screw yourself? Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
But I actually find that people are really stressed at this time of year. People who work in retail don't get any time off. They're not allowed to have time off. I've got friends that haven't had a Christmas away in a decade because they work in retail. So they have to be there with the shops open because people are demanding to buy stuff. And, they're really stressed, and they're out buying things that, like you said, they can't afford. So it's not really a happy time. There's more people die in January than in the Western world than in any other month of the year. You can look that up. they overindulge in all the foods and things. So if they've got bad health, then they overindulge in all the foods that are really bad for them, and alcohol and things like that in December, and they have heart attacks in January. So they reward themselves with death. Doesn't make any sense. I just eat the same all year. I don't eat anything special just because it's December. Anyway, except my lychees that I had last week, but they were good. Yeah, but
don't they sell a Christmas edition of Soylent?
Christmas. No, but I just don't get the mentality, and they're not even. I can understand the Christians getting very excited about it, although why they're into the commercialism, which is the opposite of Christianity, I'm not really sure. But I've got so many friends that, they say, "Oh, you're not into Christmas, are you?" And I say, "Well, no, I'm an atheist." And they go, "Oh, yes, so am I."
It's during Christmas time, when they were growing up, was a very happy time for them, and so it remains that way for them.
Yeah.
That's part of the Christmas spirit that's programmed into their brain.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. No, Chelsey will have a nice day. I'm not sure. We've got a couple of different friends that have invited us to join in their festivities, so I'm not sure where we'll go yet. Depends on the weather, really. Although what is it? Today's the 17th, 18th today. No cyclones so far. So often there's cyclones at Christmas, so that kind of puts a dampener on everything. Pardon the pun. But so far so good.
Poor Whiz Mike in the chat area. He's saying, when I was a kid, Christmas Day was fun, but after that, there was always a kid that stole my big toy. So,
that sucks.
Hey, you get karate lessons and kick his butt next Christmas.
Yeah.
Even with, even in the religious communities, varying degrees, like the ministers and the priests joke about, you have your congregation that comes to church twice a year, Christmas and Easter, and I'm going to guess that's the year that their collection plate, kind of goes up. So there's a commercial interest there in trying to get a lot of people to come to church, and the same thing if you're an individual. Well, how much does going to church mean that you don't practice whatever the heck faith it is? Hard for me to tell. I have this little suspicion that your only involvement in your church is twice a year, that maybe you don't really follow your doctrine all that much, and it's a negative, the gift buying. And that was, in fact, the American celebration of Christmas, I think, was initially a department store. It was strictly commercially driven. The Christians around in the colonies certainly celebrated Christmas, but the gift giving, I don't think that really started until maybe the 1930s or the 1940s, when a department store or something really started pushing it.
Yeah. I tend to, if I'm giving, because I only give presents to people I'm really close to, I don't go nuts over it. And I give better presents for their birthdays. I give something small for Christmas, and then I sort of make a big deal of birthdays. Like, I'm really glad that you're alive and part of my life. That's what I'm saying. Whereas Christmas is a bit, I just find Christmas really impersonal. Maybe.
We're talking about Christmas, and what I've got here, okay, and here's a little Christmas present, maybe. Let me just do the old screen share, if I can do that properly. And if you're looking for someone, perhaps a loved one, and you really want to give them a good Christmas present, there you go. These are a pair of socks embedded with miniaturized microbial fuel cells and fueled with urine pumped by the wearer's footsteps and which powers a wireless transmitter to send a signal to a computer. There you go. Urine-powered energy socks. Let's see, the soft socks, MFS is what they call them, embedded. Soft, what's this material? MFS, embedded with the pair of socks, was supplied with fresh urine. It was fresh urine circulated by the human operator walking. Okay, now, wait a second here. It's fresh urine, which means they have to kind of connect. I don't even want to picture that. Okay.
Yeah, well, maybe it's not connected per se. Maybe they're just peeing into a device. But how they can pee and walk at the same time, I'm not sure. So I'm looking at that copyright, UWE Bristol. Okay.
Yeah, University. I mean, doesn't it really?
Yeah, I'll take 2 pairs. That'd be great.
Now, what they say is, having powered a mobile phone with these particular energy socks, we wanted to see if we could recreate this success with other wearable technology. And it worked. It opens up possibilities of using waste for powering portable and wearable electronics. That I go for. For example, recent research showed it should be possible to develop a system based on wearable MFC technology to transmit a person's coordinates in an emergency situation. They're talking about using proof of concept, using the device so that it will work urinals, so that the urine from the urinals can be used and recycled for energy. That'd be useful.
That would be brilliant for hiking. I tell you, a few years ago, I had a bit of a hiking emergency, and it was getting dark. I was on my own, and I was out of water. My phone was completely flat. I was out longer than I expected it to be. Thankfully, I had my iPad in my bag. I don't even know why I had my iPad in my bag that day, but I did, and it had just enough battery in it for me to call for help. And so I did. And it went flat straight after that call, and my friend came and rescued me. Now, I had peed on the way back down this mountain. I could have used that pee to power my phone just enough to make a call had I not had my iPad. If I hadn't had my iPad, I don't know what I just would have maybe rolled down the rest of the mountain to the highway or something and flagged down a car. I don't know what I would have done. But I was all right. But it happens. You get yourself in situations. Okay. I had enough water, right? I packed enough water, and we originally went up this mountain as in a group, but I left my phone at the top, and I didn't realize until we got down the bottom. So everyone else went home, and I went back up for my phone, and I came back down. And what had happened was we took some kids out. It was like a youth working thing. We were supervising these kids, and one of the girls thought she was. So I left bottles of water along the way, right? And one of the girls thought she was helping me, a young girl, by tipping them out so that they would be lighter for me to carry. And I'm just like, that's my drinking water, so now I don't have any. And why do I want to take it? I mean, I took the empty bottles back so that I wasn't littering, but I don't know where that logic came from. But anyway, she thought it was a nice thing to do, and it nearly killed me. So anyway, that was it. So you don't know how your day is going to turn out, and those socks, I want a couple of pair.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what you can do is, of course, you can collect your urine, like you say. You want to kind of be careful you don't bump into somebody too hard, or fall down too hard. I could get a little messy, but okay, I can see applications here. And you were
Yeah,
talking
definitely.
about leaving the water. That's what isn't that what the native Aborigines did? They had, was it ostrich eggs, and they filled them with water, and then they planted them
I
in,
don't know.
in the desert,
Well,
and
Eni, yeah.
that was their water supply as they went on
There's
their
an Aboriginal girl
hunting
who tipped it
trips.
out. She thought she was being helpful, so she
Ah,
didn't get that memo. Yeah. Anyway, sweet girl. She's like, "Oh, it'll be easy for you to carry," and I'm just like, "Great, thanks." I didn't bother saying anything because there's nothing to say. It's already gone. Uh,
well, I guess that teaches you, maybe you do a little survival training before you go out on long walks in the desert with your friends.
I have done survival training. I was prepared.
Dale,
I was
that's what Dale does.
I wasn't prepared for someone to sabotage me. Anyway, it's all good. I survived.
Okay. Um, okay. Next up, we've talked about the cheerful subject of Christmas. Hooray! And giving gifts and things. Now I'm going to go into less cheerful subject. Uh, Climate change and what people are doing about climate change. Um, okay. All the world leaders. We had this wonderful worldwide conference, and they sat down, probably had themselves a nice fancy meal at an expensive restaurant, and they all got together. Maybe they held hands, sang "Kumbaya," and decided we're gonna save the world. And they said, "Oh, we're gonna cut our carbon emissions 97%." And they set all these goals and things, and everybody feels happy. And I say, okay, at least they're doing something. The next day, I go onto my news feed and immediately see 3 stories from 3 of the countries whose leaders were at that wonderful conference pledging that they're really going to do something serious about climate change. Now, the first one, let me see. Let's see if I've got these in the right order. Yes. Okay, the first one is Australia. Now, you had a case that you have this mining company, ADAINS Carmichael Mine. I think I've heard of the family. They want to create Australia's largest coal project, and the government backs it. The government thinks this would be a good idea. So an environmental group challenged it in court. Unfortunately, the court agreed with the government and the mining company. So the Australia's largest coal mining project is going to be built, and it's completely supported by I presume your new prime minister, your governing body, at the same time going off to that conference and saying, yes, we pledge to meet these projects. I don't know. Don't want to pick on just Australia. We go to India, another one of those countries pledging to make huge changes and doing something about climate. Now in India, however, I think it's even maybe the environmental minister has said, well, okay, we did sign this accord, but that's not going to stop us from doubling our coal production because, we just don't have any other sources. So India, another country that signed to pledge themselves to doing something about climate change and reducing carbon imprint, will be doubling their coal mining over the next 15 years. And then the last one kind of does blow my mind. And that's for our friend, the Brits, over in the UK. And you got the national parks. And so the British government has approved a plan for fracking under the national parks. So you can't have your fracking operation in the park, so you have it outside the park, and then you link your tunnels and things, and you do all the fracking business and whatever underneath the parks. Like, that's really gonna help. So I don't know. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And that's what we were saying before. Why do they even have to go to these conferences for starters? Why can't they just talk like you and I are talking right now and do it on video chat?
Yeah.
It's to save money on travel. Anyway. But they want to hold hands while they sing Kumbaya, I guess. Yeah, they just talk, but no action. I just don't know what the solution is. I'm finding it very frustrating. I was talking to, a friend the other day, and I was saying that, I'm sorry, I'm just moving around my house to do something. I'm not losing my idealism, but I'm losing energy. I feel it's not a case of inspiring, because what we need is regular people to stand up and take action, because the politicians aren't listening, right? So, I thought you just have to inspire people, tell them what's going on, they'll be equally outraged, and then we can all stand together and there'll be revolution. But they need to be re-inspired, like, I feel like I need a cow prod, you know what I'm talking about? Very regularly. They don't stay inspired. And that's exhausting. So if you don't have your power in your numbers, I don't know. I find it really upset. Like, this is quite a depressing subject, really.
Well,
I'm listening to you. I'm just going to have some Australian organic wheatgrass.
ooh, sounds great.
Yeah.
But I think we have to accept that the majority of the public really, as you say, isn't intending to do anything significant until they almost have no choice. When it really hits them over the head. In Texas, you have people in Texas who they didn't care about conserving water or anything until they get hit with a long drought, and now they want to do some conservation. That's the kind of thing that's going to happen for the majority of people, and to get the governments, I think, to really take action. In China, well, for instance, in China, now the Chinese government has said that within something like 30 years, they will cut their carbon emissions by a certain percentage. They're beating their deadline. Not by a lot, but they are beating their deadline. And one reason for that is, have you seen the skies in Beijing, China? Where there's actually particles that you can see in the air?
And they wear masks.
Now, that's what it takes. In London, England, when I was growing up, every year you had the killer fog. Literally, the fog killed people. The fog was there because people used coal, to heat their homes. Now, when they put it, the little light bulb goes off and they put in regulations, no more killer fog. But you really got hit the people over the head. But I think the thing to recognize is evolution happens slowly. And we are having an evolution. It's starting at the bottom. There are more people who really are doing something. They're doing something in their local community. They're pushing some local state governments. The state of Texas, which is oil country, is investing more money into solar energy I think they've even passed California this year. So you're getting some movement. It's slow. That's the frustrating part. It is slow, and evolution happens slow, but it's happening. And I'm completely confident that at some point, maybe 20 years from today, you're going to see some really strong movement, even on the part of governments. You're going to see a strong move away from things like coal production. You have some states that are building nuclear power plants. I don't really know how many. That's going to help out. You certainly have more people using solar energy, and the solar energy use is going up dramatically. The trend is going up dramatically. Overall, it's still a small percentage, but it's going over dramatically. And technology is going to make a big change. People, cars. Right now, for instance, if electric cars, more people are buying electric cars, but you have the problem with power stations. You don't have a lot of fueling stations around the country. Now, even Elon Musk with his cars, which cost like $100,000, and he's building fueling stations, but they used to be able to just have a battery swap that would take 5 minutes. They eliminated them because they were too costly. So now you got to go take half an hour. Nobody's going to spend half an hour fueling up their car. They're not going to do it. So, once we get that battery that charges quickly, can hold a charge for several days, and we're getting there. I don't know how far away, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. But once we get that, then you're going to see a huge jump. You're going to see way more people buying electric cars because there's a lot more reasons for it. You don't have the heat buildup from the internal combustion engine, less maintenance. You got immediate surge of energy. You don't have to get that slow buildup. So there's a lot of reasons for going to an electric car, and now you're creating jobs and bang. But it's happening slowly, and I don't know when that big change is going to come.
Okay, you've inspired me, Ed. Just keep plugging away at it.
Yeah, I think that is something to remember. It's hard in so many fields of science, evolution does tend to work slowly. Well, even look at, the first thing I led off with was the United States, a Republican controlled body, the Congress, U.S. Congress, is in they put together, they have the votes to pass an budget increase to NASA, even though they had to throw in that stupid surveillance thing to get it done.
Cybersecurity. Yeah.
Oh, well, so it's a slow evolution. It's slow, but it's happening. It's happening. You know what I think? I'm not that much of an activist myself. I don't do a lot of traveling. You could say I do some activism on the social media. That's the extent of it. I talk about it here in the Hangout and stuff like that. I have friends. I have more of my Facebook friends that now see the need and can see the advantages of going to and doing something about it. I see more environmentally friendly people in my Facebook feed, but it has to be positive. You're not going to scare people. That's not going to work. That hasn't worked. Not going to work. It's got to be positive. It's got to be pushing the green technology and things.
Yeah, it has to be to their advantage. I mean, a lot of people I know, they see it as about job losses, and I think, if the human race is dead, you're not going to have a job anyway.
Yeah, I'll just throw this comment for Was Mike. He's saying slow movement is like constipation.
Well, that's how it feels. That's a really accurate analogy. When I'm talking to some people and trying to inspire them, they do look constipated. I'm just, maybe they are constipated. Maybe they really do just need a stimulant to get them inspired. I should get them some wheatgrass.
There you go.
Yeah. It's good for you.
I think more Americans are more health conscious. It used to take having that heart attack before you did, or getting diabetes before you did. More Americans are doing it. More Americans are doing things like exercising. I think maybe too many are going a little bit overboard, but there is a movement. But I'm not sure it's the majority yet. And we still do have, the diabetes and the obesity almost epidemics, because not enough people, and the kids. I can see it. It's no matter what you see from the media, it's how your children feed you, how your parents feed you. And you go to school and you look at the cafeteria and there's a soda fountain. There's a soda vending machine. There's a candy vending machine. So even if the meal, and that's because that's money raised for the school, good for the school budget, and you're teaching the kids the wrong thing.
I think they're taking them out of schools here. I think vending machines and all that in the what you call them cafeterias, we call them canteens. I think they're getting healthier. I don't have anything to do with the schools. But I don't even know if they can get junk food. But when I was at school, it was all Coke machines and they had healthy options at the canteen. I think the apples were like $1 or something. It was ridiculous, which is a lot then. They probably are $1 then. I used to just took my own lunch. I only bought my lunch about once a week just as a treat. But literally the other day, my friends here, my daughter, she doesn't have a sweet tooth. I was very careful about giving her anything sugary early on. And I've tested, peanuts and all that and made sure she doesn't have any allergies, so she can eat anything, she's good. Because you can't go to some third world countries with a peanut allergy. You will die, because everything is just, mixed in. But so now I'll offer it.
I can say WizMike in the chat area is having shredded wheat right now.
Okay. Oh, that's good for you. But so I offer her lollies, and she usually just turns up her nose at it. She's hooked on these. Hooked on is the wrong word, but she likes these corn cakes. So rice cakes, but they're made of corn. And that's what she wants. She doesn't want chocolate. She doesn't want lollies. She wants rice cakes and corn cakes. So, yeah. But that's also it. Go on.
I also noticed with salt, when I eliminated salt from my diet, and then so I got the natural peanut butter, and I like peanut butter, the natural grinded peanut butter from peanuts. And peanut butter is something good for diabetics. It's good energy food if you start feeling low. So I went on, so I bought the, I forget the name of the brand, and it says, more naturally made or something, and I can immediately taste the salt in it, immediate difference. So,
I've always had a low salt diet, because when my mum had me, she had to have a low salt diet, and something was wrong with the pregnancy, and she did the cooking in the house, so everything was low salt. So I've always had a low salt diet. So Chelsey has a low salt diet, and but food preferences for kids, they get a flavour of what the mother's eating in the amniotic fluid, and that's the kind of food they like later. And I didn't eat, junk when I was pregnant, so she doesn't go for junk. What I did have was a lot of lemonade. That was really the only bad thing. I crave lemonade like crazy, but she doesn't really like it, so that's good. But I think it's too fizzy for her. I don't know if she likes the flavour or not, but she doesn't like the fizziness. But I've tried it just to see if she likes it. And she doesn't like lemons. Gave her some lemon the other day and she went, what's that? So.
Oh, yeah. And
she's still asleep, by the way.
think of our friend Ulysses. I think it's his wife's a vegetarian. And now he's eating healthier. And he talks about, he's eating healthier now. And there's a guy, there's a blue-collar guy, union guy, all et cetera. I'm sure. I don't know. I do not know what kind of meal he had. If it was like me, it was your typical meal, loaded up with, butter and everything else. I've gone to a healthy diet. Now Ulysses has gone to a healthy diet. I did it primarily because I was diagnosed with diabetes. He did it because he has a wife who's a vegetarian.
But you just feel better, if you're eating junk for a while, just especially if you're traveling or whatever, and you don't have much choice other than fast food at an airport. So you eat junk for a couple of days traveling. You just feel, without having had any alcohol, you just feel hungover. And you think, what the hell is wrong with me? And then you eat some good food for a couple of days, and you feel fantastic. So. Yeah, you might crave, Kentucky Fried Chicken or something, and it might give you, immediate gratification for a couple of hours or whatever. But you're going to feel like crap the next day. It's not worth it. You may as well go out and drink a bottle of tequila. Yeah. So,
we've reached the point. Okay, I think we're depressed ourselves enough. So I'm going to go into something slightly different. We talked in the pre-show. We talked a lot about Star Wars. We're going to do non-spoilery. Pamela has seen Star Wars. I haven't, but we're going to talk about it in a very, very general way. Not going to talk about any of the plot lines or anything like that, but just in a very general way. So I'm going to start by asking Pamela a question. I already know the answer, but one. I'm going to go with the old scale of 1 to 5. 1 to 5, how much were you anticipating going to the movie, and how much did you enjoy it on a scale of 1 to 5?
Is 5 the best and 1's the worst?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe a 2, anticipating. It takes a lot to get me excited. I wasn't really that excited. But, I was going because you have to see it. And then, 5 out of 5. I was really happy with it.
Great. Yeah. There you go, Wiz Mike. If you're planning to see it, there's 2 thumbs up from Pamela. It's really hard when you're talking about a franchise movie. And particularly since, it's gone into that curve of great, terrible, terrible, terrible. And now you got to kind of reboot it and get people excited about it. Wiz Mike doesn't mind being spoiled. I don't know if you really mean, but there are going to be other people watching this, and we want to be a little bit careful there. Okay, you don't want the spoiler Nazis bombarding our news feed with hate mail. But
I was saying before, a friend of mine spoiled Harry Potter for me. I was reading the books, and he didn't realize that I hadn't seen the movies. And he said something that spoiled it. No, and it was still good, but it would have been better if I hadn't had it spoiled. So I don't want to do that to someone else. But I'm sure everyone knows that the original cast is back in it. Right. You'd have to be living under a rock, under the ocean or something to not know that. So Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, they're all back in it. And so something I was wondering was whether they could reprise that chemistry that they all had, because they had the cast had a great chemistry 30 years ago or 35 years ago. And I think they did. They just have great chemistry together. And that's something that we were saying before, it was lacking in the prequels, the 3 films. fantastic cast. Loved every single one of the main actors in episode 1, 2, and 3. In everything else they have done, did not like them together. They just did not have chemistry, and I think that was the problem. So, yeah, that was good. That's good. The three of them were, well, they were able to
You don't go to
reprise
movies, so I was going to say if you've seen any of the cast in another movie, but you really don't go. Are you familiar? I don't even know who the cast is, so I don't even know what else they've made. But have you seen them in anything else? The new actors in the cast.
Oh, the new ones from the episode 7. No, I haven't seen. I haven't seen them in anything else. No, they could have been because I don't go to the movies much, but I don't know them. No. Whereas Natalie Portman, Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, yeah, I've seen them in lots of other things from episode 1, 2, and 3. Liam Neeson, nearly forgot him. Yeah.
It's got to be hard for the actors themselves. Really challenging. I mean, you're talking about an iconic movie. If you screw this up, you screw this up big time, you know?
Yeah.
So it's good to see that they hit it out of the ballpark. They did a great job of acting.
Yeah, I think they did, yeah. Yeah,
I've seen there's some movies that came out this past year, and the one that jumps out to me is Mad Max. Got tremendous ratings. Everybody I hated it. And the acting, the characters, I just didn't get into it. So it's good and it's important that in this particular reboot, the actors did a good job. And I think also for me, on something, if you can almost blank out everything, blank out the other pictures. I'm not going in to see Star Wars #7. I'm going in to see a movie about some an adventure in space, this war in space, and just forget about whatever I saw, because sometimes that can also spoil it for you. Does reading a book beforehand and going to a movie make any difference to you? Or going to the movie and reading a book?
I haven't read the Star Wars books, but for Harry Potter, I've read all the books first, and then I watched the movies. And no, I think I think those movies were very well done to the book. A lot of details were left out, but I didn't even notice those details were left out because I'd already read the books, so my brain inserted them. So just for an example, I watched. You know how you have these top 10 lists on YouTube and these little funny videos of people put things together, and one of them was, top 10 movies that overreacted. And so one of them was saying how in the movie, Hermione erased her parents' memories of her and then left. And that's all the movie shows. And so you think, what the? But in the book, she actually gave them new memories, sent them to Australia, and gave them an entirely new identity and life and everything. And so she completely erased her identity from the world to make them completely safe. But that wasn't all shown in the movie. But I didn't even notice that because my brain put it in there because I'd read the book. And so they were saying, well, that's kind of an overreaction because none of that was explained. So anyway, so for me, it enhanced it. I don't think episode 7 followed the Star Wars books anyway, as far as I understand from because I was looking for spoilers, I was looking for that kind of thing, and I don't think they do. So it depends on it, and sometimes it depends on how well the movie's done, if it sticks to the book or not.
Yeah.
For example, I was going to say we're also talking about before the 100-year-old man who climbed out a window and disappeared is a film that came out about a year ago based on books. I have yet to read the books, but the movie was brilliant, so now I have to go and read the books now. So, I don't know, I think it depends on the story, and I think it depends on how well it's done.
Yeah, some of the movies I have seen rely on fast-paced, end-to-end actions. Bang, 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 bang. I don't know if it's me. I don't particularly care for that. I want to be able to relate a little bit to a character. I don't want to like to know, a little bit about their background. They had that kind of a build-up in the first Star Wars, which they really did fantastically well. Did they have the same kind of character build-up with this in the new movie?
Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, you got background, you got to know the characters beforehand, and so some of the characters they've filtered up, and you only briefly got a glimpse of them. So I think they're going to be bigger characters in the next one. I mean, it was left on.
You're going to make. I don't know how many more, but
yeah, it was left sort of.
Right.
At the start of a next theme.
Okay.
I'm not
obviously. Okay. Wiz Mike. Oh. I'm not interrupting you, keeping you from spoiling stuff. I know.
I'm not spoiling it. I'm just saying that you're left at the very end of the movie just going, but what happens next? You just sort of, Yeah.
Wiz Mike in the chat room said he liked a parody movie called Galaxy Quest. Have you ever heard about it?
No.
It's a takeoff on Star Trek. And it's a funny movie. Won a Hugo Award. It has a cult following. So it's a funny movie. It's a funny movie. So yeah, I can recommend it. But it's definitely, as they say, more towards humor than anything else.
I liked Spaceballs. That was good.
Okay, Mel Brooks.
With Rick.
That was good.
That was good. So I think anyone who likes stuff, go and see it.
Movie recommendation. Yeah. See now, a movie that was all about a character study that I really liked was the latest Sherlock Holmes movie, Holmes.
Okay.
And this is Sherlock. I forget the guy's name. He did a fantastic job. But it's Sherlock Holmes. He's like 90, and he's beginning to lose. He's got dementia, starting to lose his mind. He can't. What he has to do is he has to write. He has a Laura Linney, very good actress. She lives with him, and she has a son, and the son, starts helping Holmes with his beehives, etc. And what he has to do is he has to write their names down, so he can remember who they are. And he's trying to, they get back to the mystery that ended his career. And he's trying to go back over and say what happened with this great mystery. But the storyline, the great part of the movie is just a character study about this guy who's fantastic brain, and he's losing it. And it was really a great character study. So I can recommend. That's the movie I've seen recently that I can recommend, but you have to like character studies.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds intriguing. Mm-hmm.
All right.
We went with a friend to watch Star Wars yesterday, and they have all the previews of other movies on before the main movie. And we looked at each other and I went, I wouldn't even download any of those for free. They all looked like crap. So, let alone pay to see them. So, no, it's good to get recommendations because there's just so much crap out there. You don't want to waste 2 hours on something and go, well,
oh, yeah.
I could have washed my hair in that time or something. It's ridiculous.
That's where I like spoilers, particularly if you're talking about a series. I don't want to invest, 10 hours a week into something, and then it's just, it's just not going to get me. That's a lot of investment in time. So I want to know a little bit. In fact, I don't even mind knowing what's happening in the last episode. that tells me, okay, you know what? Maybe this is worthwhile investing, even when I know what the ending is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny you should say that. I was a bit put off by J.J. Abrams, working on this Star Wars episode because of how Lost ended. I loved Lost until the last episode, and then I've talked about that before. We won't go there. But yeah, so I kind of hate him for that. But he's redeemed himself now. I don't like him, but I don't hate him anymore.
What about George Clooney? The movie he was in, I think last year, where they got in the outer. Geez, my brain is going. But they were
What?
him and there's a really great actress I like. They were in outer space, and their space station got blown up. Gravity.
Sandra Bullock. Yeah, that was that made me not want to go to space. That was a bit scary. Yeah. Yeah, that was a good movie. Wasn't great, but it was good.
It had some quasi-religious overtones.
Yeah, I was about to say that dream sequence where she was about to die. And I didn't like that. They could have just cut that out. They didn't need that.
Yeah.
So, but no, that was interesting. Scary how quickly things can go wrong out there.
Yeah, I would love to see the Earth from space. I'm like Justin. I don't need to go out and live in another planet or something. I guess it wouldn't bother me, but I would really like to see Earth from space. I don't think that's an experience you can reproduce in any way, shape, or form other than just by being there.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, I used to want to go off and live on other planets and travel, but now that I've got a child and it would be quite dangerous and everything, no, I'd rather just stay here with her. But yeah, if we could take a tour and just go and have a look, that'd be cool. Go to the moon, 3 days there, 3 days back, maybe spend a day there.
And I really wish we would do more of a push to the moon instead of to Mars, because it would just make more sense. It's more economical. It's closer. We can then get some practice in on living. It doesn't. It would be more difficult on the moon because it doesn't have an atmosphere. At least Mars has some kind of an atmosphere. It just makes a lot more sense. But as long as we still get the space program,
we can terraform. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to terraform the moon, you'd have to do it. Well, I don't know if you could terraform the moon. You could build underground. You'd have to build a dome or something. I don't know if you can terraform any place that doesn't have an environment, that doesn't have an atmosphere, protection from the rain. And what?
Yeah, but you could build a biosphere. You could build a biosphere to live in. Maybe you can't terraform the whole thing, but you could terraform part of it within a biosphere.
Yeah, you could eventually do it. Yes. But terraforming.
Have you seen? Go
ahead.
Yeah, I suppose not the whole thing. I was going to say there's a TED talk called Biosphere 2. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Okay, everyone should have a look at that. A bunch of scientists did that. They went and lived in a biosphere for 2 years to simulate, how it would have to be in space. And I won't spoil it, haha. But yeah, no, you should watch and see how they lived and what they learned. It was really interesting.
I don't think you can spoil a documentary.
I'm kidding. I was kidding. No, but it was just how she spoke about it, and it's called Biosphere 2 because and it comes back to climate change to show how everything is connected. That by living it within this biosphere, it gave them a unique perspective on living on the planet. How we need to put a biosphere around the whole planet and recognize that what we do over here affects this over there here, and they were even though it was in a controlled environment with scientists, they were actually almost in life and death situations at one point because of things they had overlooked, and these are things that would need to be fixed before we go to another planet, or the moon. So yeah, you're right about, well, I now that we've done the biosphere experiment in outer space like conditions on Earth, it would be good to do it on the moon, which is only 3 days away, for help, if help is required. Maybe do that for a couple of years. And then if that's successful and we've really worked out all the kinks, and there's a difference between living in space-like conditions on Earth, where intellectually you're still on Earth, compared to being on the moon, where you're not on Earth. Because we need to look at the psychological aspect of it. You don't want people going space crazy and killing everyone. Then move on to Mars. But I don't know. We'll see. It's a budget thing, I guess. You don't want to waste money on the moon. We've been to the moon. We've seen the moon. You want to get on and use the money to go further.
Yeah, and
everything's down to...
The technology will give us the potential to get along fine on Earth. Will we use that potential is the question. We will eventually. I just don't know when eventually is. So many things like birth control. And there's so many people opposed to that. Abortions, whatever method you want to talk about. That if you have a government like China says you will not have more than X number of babies. They enforce it. They're backing off now then, but that's never going to work in the United States, and I don't know. You will have more people having fewer children. You have more people in the United States having children later in life. Do you have more Americans adopting children? That's something I would like to see. If you want to have children, adopt children. And I know people in my Facebook feed that did that. And it's really working out well. And
it is so difficult now, though. The red tape you have to go through to adopt. It takes about 5 years. There's
5
age limits.
years?
Yeah, it's really difficult to adopt. You've got to earn a certain amount of, I don't know what it's like there, but you've got to earn a certain amount of money. You have to have certain assets. You have to be certain ages. So if you're older, then you have to adopt an older child. You can't be so much older than your child. It's a really long, litigious, expensive project. Not project, sorry. Thing to do. Process, sorry. And no guarantee of successfully adopting at the end of it.
Yeah.
So but anyone can go and have a baby.
Yeah, I've got several Facebook friends, as I say, but I don't remember what the process was. I know this one woman. Her husband is a minister. You would think that would be a plus. I presume they make enough money. I don't know. I think it might have taken something like 2 years. They had a lot of interviews. People had to sit down and they had to show that they were responsible. So it was a problem. I don't think it took more than 2 years, though. But 5 years, 5 years, the thing is, the kid's 5 years old already.
No, that's just to qualify to get one.
Okay.
They
All
go
right.
to families. That was my friend's experience, and they eventually got through, but yeah.
The screening process needs to be complete enough. So you're talking about two people who want to have a child and can take care of them.
Or they don't have to be a couple anymore. You can be single and adopt.
Oh, yeah. Yes. You can, I don't know if this is every state or not. I'm going to say in many states, gay couples can adopt children here. Maybe
Yeah,
not
they
in all states.
Mhm.
No.
And I can hear too. I mean, but just my Chelsea's dad and I, when we were leaving the hospital with her, we felt like, is that it? And they go, yeah, see you later. And it's like, I don't know, she's mine and everything, but I don't know. We felt like there should have been more checking or something. We just felt like, okay, we're walking out with the baby now. Bye. So because we made her ourselves and gave birth to her and all that, no one really cares. No one checks anything. It's like, yeah, see you later. Whereas it takes, say, 2 to 5 years, right, to check that you're okay to adopt a child. Now, that's, yes, the screening process needs to be thorough, but is that child more important than my child? Why is there no screening process for her?
Well, my first question is, I don't want to I don't want to, have my wife having a baby in a hospital, and any woman can walk out with a little baby and say, "Okay, goodbye." Hopefully, they recognized you or escorted you to the door or something.
They didn't escort us to the door at all. They recognised us. That was fine. I was in labour for 48 hours, and then I had surgery, so they knew me very well. People went off shift and came back on, and they're like, "Oh, she's still pushing," and then they went off shift and came back on again. "Oh, she's out." Yeah. So they knew us, but okay. Just for an example, she was a cesarean section at 3:08 in the morning, and then I had to be stitched up. So they gave her to her dad, and they went off to do all the, like, I got to give her a quick kiss and everything, and that was it. I didn't see her again for a couple of hours. And they went off to do all the weighing and everything, and it was him and the pediatrician in the elevator and that, and he told me later he was thinking, anyone could just come along and steal her if they were inclined to do that. I'm just sort of standing here by myself with a female pediatrician. What would we do? So he was a bit worried about that, but all was well. We weren't in a city or anything. We're in the country, so but yeah, you worry about that kind of thing. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. There was no security. There was no nothing. There was no checking. There was no for a child that we gave birth to. But for a child that needs to be adopted, they just make it so hard.
I don't know if this is done in every hospital. In some hospitals, they is it a footprint of a child?
Mm-hmm.
Each footprint is unique. I don't know if it's a big toe or whatever, but that's one of the things. I don't know if it's done, but do you think it might be a good idea to put a GPS tracker on babies?
Well, while they're in the hospital. Do you mean so they don't get stolen?
Well, let's start within the hospital and perhaps later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the nurses kept coming and saying, "Oh, I'll take her to the nursery and give you a break," and I'm like, "I don't need a break." Oh, they thought something was wrong with me because I was fine. No, you're not taking my baby to the nursery. So she never left my sight. Once we were reunited after it, she's awake now. After I was stitched up, she hadn't been out of my sight. But yeah, I was worried about that kind of thing. Yeah, I suppose you could do GPS tracking, but someone could remove it, I suppose, too. You can get them, though. You can put GPS tracking on them.
Oh.
You can get these
easily.
And you can track them. Yeah, you can track them with your iPhone, even on an app. So, no, you can do that. I just don't let her out of my sight. That's the easiest.
There are certainly some parents, the sole reason they give their buy smartphones for their teenagers so they can track them. Do they have GPS on it? Is that really a good idea?
Yeah. Why not?
Well, I can certainly see giving a teenager a phone so that they can get into trouble, they can contact you. But tracking to the point where you're tracking your teenager through some kind of that doesn't sound right to me. I'm not a parent. Right, wrong person to
Well,
talk to. But that just sounds overmuch. Just like putting
I'm glad.
you put a GPS device on the first car they get, so you're always tracking your children. You can see where they're going anytime. That seems to be
No,
a bit too much. That's helicopter parenting.
if they're old enough to drive, then you shouldn't be tracking them. But if you're talking like younger teen, yeah, I'm glad I wasn't tracked as a teen. But I don't know about where you are, but here, if children or teenagers or whatever, you know, break the law and cause damage or whatever, the parents are financially responsible for fixing whatever they've done. So if I hope my child doesn't do anything, but say if I'm tracking my child and I can prevent her from graffitiing something that I'm going to have to pay for having removed, well, yeah, why not? I'm well within my rights, aren't I?
Oh, you're within your rights. Definitely up until they become an adult. Yes, you're within your rights. I can think good and bad of it. Children being kidnapped. Well, the kidnapper's going to know about the smartphone GPS and they're going to get around it. So I don't know that will help. Other than the fact, as I say, you have a device in the teenager, you can press a button or something and or keep, what is it, the
like
pepper spray.
Yeah, we don't have pepper spray here.
No?
No. Oh, police do, but we can't buy it as a citizen, no.
Would it be a good idea
We don't have tasers.
And I'm thinking in terms of, really rape or something. And I don't really know if statistically it would be justified. But a girl having a pepper spray in her pocketbook or whatever. Of course, being a teenage girl, she might very well pepper spray somebody who just pisses her off. That could be dangerous.
Yeah, no, we don't have access to. But I mean, if you really want to, when I was a teenager, I carried black pepper around in a canister that I could flip the lid off and throw that. So that wasn't pepper spray, but that would be enough to be quite irritating. I never had to use it. I don't know. I was never attacked, thankfully.
You can. I mean, I don't think you can get on a plane with pepper spray. Hey.
Hey. Hey, you.
Looking up on the Googles. On the Googles, it's telling me.
Are you smiling? Did you have a good sleep?
U.S. Department of Transportation considers pepper spray a hazardous material.
Sorry?
Okay, pepper spray is a hazardous material in the United States, so it's not allowed to be shipped internationally. So shipping it, there's restrictions on shipping it, but let me screen share this map I got. So the states in yellow, one of them is Connecticut, there's no restrictions. Other states there are, so hit and miss.
Allowed. So it doesn't fall under a.
Well, that tells me it's nothing on the federal level except transportation, the restrictions on transportation, shipping it from one area to the next. But in terms of someone using it, I presume now there's no federal laws against it, but there just are some state laws.
Oh, sorry. So those states where you can't ship it, but you can still use it or have it.
Yes. Let's see. You're starting to eat. I actually have a food story. I got a food story here. Sort of a kind of a food story.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually gut bacteria.
No.
And one of the things, for instance, the military, our Defense Department, you might have an issue like climate change that becomes a political hot potato in Congress. The military, they jump right on it. You don't have to convince the military. They immediately have put climate change scenarios into their military plans. And now we talk about gut bacteria. And this is the, I think it's the Defense Department. This is Rice University. And this guy Tabor, Jeff Tabor, he's a biologist. And he's a synthetic biologist. And he received a 3-year grant from the U.S. Office of Naval Research to genetically modify a harmless bacteria normally found in the human gut. The goal is to create an edible probiotic organism that could hone in on developing disease and stave it off. And he did recently succeeded in engineering an E. coli with sensors that could detect the presence of chemicals signaling the disease. That was in a mouse gut. Let's see. He had to rewire the genes of the E. coli to transfer the cells into predictable and reliable microbial medics loaded with engineered genetic circuits that could sense specific chemical distributions and fire off a battery of molecules to neutralize them. The initial target being obesity and related metabolic issues. Let's see what else we got. Taking part in this large program funded by the Navy to help the military force be more robust in the force of stressors, in this case, changes in diet and environment, fearful situations, losing sleep, disruptive circadian rhythms, shifting from one time zone to the next. And they're interested in how gut bacteria responds to these stressors. Let's see, it's early in the game. He's isolated several sensors, re-engineered them into a single, as they say, E. coli. He fed that to modified cells in mice. The sensors did work. He plans to carry up to a dozen, once E. coli, to carry up to a dozen sensors so it can detect multiple signals at any given time. He wants to engineer these cells to produce drugs when and where they're called for. Dealing with obesity, signaling when there's inflammation present. Let's see. The Navy may find creative ways to deploy these synthetic probiotics, not just to avoid obesity and its attendant problems, but to quickly shift body weight and metabolism when necessary. So you're in combat and you're lugging heavy packs, you need a lot of calories, you need more fat maybe. But when you go off, when you go off the exercise and when you're out of the combat zone, you want to be able to get rid of that fat. And maybe you can have this synthetic probiotic that can do that.
Well, they don't have to invent something. If you look up hornet juice, that kind of thing already exists.
You see, I got hornet juice.
Hornet juice.
Okay. What the heck are the side of hornet juice? There you go. I've got the hornet juice site.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the site. Let's see. Giant hornet vomit gives you a competitive edge.
Yeah. Excrement. Yes, that's a synthetic version of hornet crap. And it releases the fat that you've got stored in your body. Like even I have fat stored in my body, between the organs and that kind of thing when you need it for exercise and energy. And it works. It's really good.
Reading this, the larva of the Japanese giant hornet. They're big. They are really deadly. Let's see, physical effects. Like all other energy, it's an energy boosting product. It's predominantly supported by, well, let's see, this is 2013. And it says it's primarily supported by marketing, nutritional supplements.
But it releases
there are
the
some
fat.
questions about how effective it actually is.
Effective.
2011 study found that this particular vaccine, combined with 90 minutes of exercise twice a week, increases aerobic fitness and decreases abdominal fat in sedentary women in the 60s. Okay.
It releases fat that wouldn't normally be released unless you've been starving for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we're in an abundant, in society that is abundant with food. We don't need to keep that fat stored. May as well use it. So that that releases that fat for, like, they should be using that in combat. They probably are. But just what you said then about, you need to move the fat around. Well, that's what that does. That's been around for ages. And then if they want to bulk up on fat for combat and then lose it when they go home, they could just use the hornet juice to lose it.
Yeah, this E. coli, which the researcher is engineering, is for more than that. It's for responding to any kind of stressor. But that's interesting. There is a product already. Never even heard of it.
So I used that for my dog. She passed away December 2012, so 3 years ago now. But she was 13 and a half when she passed away. From the age of 3, we found she had a brain tumor. And so that pressed on I always get them around the wrong way, but it pressed on, I think it was the adrenal gland, which governs the pituitary gland, which, or was it the other way around? But that made her made her store fat in her liver, right? So I tried her on different medications that the vet recommended, blah, blah, blah. I found this hornet juice. I checked with the vet. If I could give it to her, he laughed at me. He said, there's nothing in it that will hurt her, so if you want to waste your money, go for it. It released the fat in her liver, and she dropped the extra weight, and she lived a very healthy life for the next 10 years. And he started taking it himself, the vet, when he saw the results in my dog. Seriously. Okay. He's still drinking it.
Why haven't I heard of the hornet nest weight loss diet?
I don't know.
Would it be effective as a weight loss?
Yeah, well, it is. It worked on my dog. He didn't think it was going to work, but it tastes like raspberry. So I haven't had it for years because I've had a baby and everything, and I've never used it for weight loss. But for energy, for increased energy, yeah, it's awesome. It's great. You have some before you go.
Pamela, you're on the cutting edge. Promote it. Write the book, The Hornet Nest Diet, How to Lose Weight.
I have a few. I haven't had it for years because I can't. She takes it all out of me. Yeah, it's great. You have some before you go on do any strenuous exercise, and so what it does, it stops that lactic acid buildup that you get in your legs. So if you do a lot of exercise and then your legs ache and you can't move the next day, you don't have that ache because it releases all that lactic acid.
Mommy?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. I don't know why people haven't heard of it.
What is it? Hornet?
Been around for
Hornet what? I'm looking up in what the side effects are, but what is it? It's hornets nest.
Side effect.
Hornet nest?
Hornet juice.
Hornet juice.
Hornet juice. So it's not even that expensive. I used to buy it in bulk because I gave one to my dog every day.
No side effects reported.
No.
Wow. I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed. I haven't seen big, huge marketing campaigns and this stuff sold in America. That's wow.
I know. I don't know why.
You know what? Justin has been looking for a way to finance Science Island. Justin's a salesman. We
Like
got
to sell.
Science Island hornet juice. Now, okay, now we got to find someone, some volunteer perhaps, who can go to Japan and get these big hornets. And how do you juice a hornet?
Well, it's a synthetic version. So
Oh, synthetic
you
version.
can get the real version in Japan, but they ship a synthetic version, and it just dissolves in water. But I tell you what, don't put it in your Camelback because it is sticky.
Hmm.
You know what I'm talking about with your Camelback?
The what?
Camelback, you know what I'm talking about? The bladder in a Camelback?
Nope.
No? Oh, look up Camelback. Okay, I'm just saying, don't put it in there because it's really sticky and hard to clean out. Just put it in a regular drink bottle.
Oh, it's a type of drink bottle. Okay.
Mommy?
Yeah,
There
I
we
found
go. We gotta talk about this to Justin. The next time he shows up, we gotta promote
I
this.
discovered
We
it.
got it. The Science Island hornet juice.
I discovered it in 2003. I don't know why it's not.
We're gonna have to follow this up. We definitely gotta follow this up next week and find out what the heck is going on here. I gotta do a little more research. I don't know. This is weird. Something that loses weight and has no side effects. Wow.
It tastes like raspberries.
Okay. That sounds a lot better than this Soylent stuff.
And it's not even expensive. No, but you can't just have hornet juice. I mean, otherwise you'll die because it'll use up all your fat stores and then you won't have anything left and then you'll die. So you got to keep replacing it.
No, well, for me, this is perfect. I go to the donut shop. I consume me a dozen donuts. And then I come out and I just consume the old hornet juice. And there I'm all set.
But that's for fat, not for sugar, and you'll die if you do that because you're a diabetic.
So we're talking
It
about
doesn't-
exercise.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, please don't go and overdose on donuts.
Well, okay. Well, we could get the franchise set up in all the health food places, all the gyms and things. Sound perfect.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not widespread.
That's weird.
I forgot about it. I think I mentioned it. Yeah. But yeah, I originally found it for my dog, and then I used it myself, and
Wow.
I used up what I had. And I haven't ordered any more since she died. I had a heap in because I was buying it by about 200 sachets at a time.
Mhm.
So I had a heap, and I used them up, and then I got pregnant 7 months after she died. So I haven't bought any more because my daughter sucks all the fat out of me now.
If your daughter went into athletics,
Mhm.
would you recommend this for her?
Not until she's fully grown.
Okay.
So yeah, wait until she's finished growing. Usually 3 years after you get your period. So a woman is fully grown, then it would be fine. But not until then, because that fat is being used to grow,
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
and
Okay.
you don't want to release it for exercise.
So it would be extra weight primarily.
Sorry, it would be.
Okay. Does it help you build muscle?
No, it's more about recovery.
Okay.
So, yeah, so when you exercise and you do, really hardcore, and instead of feeling terrible the next day or whatever while you're training or in that kind of thing, you feel good. You wake up and you don't feel like you've just done 4 hours of whatever heavy weights or whatever you've done. So it's more about fast recovery.
No.
Okay.
But I never used it for weight loss,
No.
but I used it for energy and feeling good, fast recovery.
Recovery. So it's recovering. Okay.
Was for me, that's what I was using it for.
I have to do. I
'Cause
have,
I used to
find out.
I used to ride my bicycle. I lived on a hill and that, and I used to ride my bicycle to and from work back then when I first discovered it.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that was hardcore. I needed that extra energy to get up that hill.
I've always done it, and it goes back to as a kid. I used to have to climb. Our high school was at the top of the hill, and even my grade school, as I recall. So I had to walk up 2 hills to get to school every day.
Mhm.
I think I don't remember. At some point, I think we got free school bus tickets, and I could take the school bus. You guys think like winter and a heavy coat, walking up 2 hills, not so much fun. So I think at some point, I because we didn't have enough money, I don't know what it was. But at some point, I got the free school bus tickets, and I didn't have to walk up the 2 hills anymore. But, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, we'll get Justin my planet juice, and we'll build Science Island. Problem solved.
There we go. We got it. We have the plan. We have the finance plan. Don't have too many other stories. We don't have to keep going for too much longer. I mean, one of the stories I had, more depressing climate change news. If you think climate change is bothering the oceans, what do you think about the lakes? Apparently,
yeah, well, they're up, aren't they?
Now the thing is, this is NASA. One of the great programs of NASA is getting up into space and then being able to make observations much more precisely than ever before. So they could look at the temperatures of lakes. And what they discovered was in 235 lakes in 6 continents, they found the lakes were warming at an average of 0.61 degrees Fahrenheit, 0.34 degrees Celsius each decade. And this is faster. The lakes are warming faster than the ocean. Algae blooms are increasing by 5%. And it says emissions of methane, a greenhouse gas, 25 times more powerful than carbon dioxide in a 100-year time cycle. And a 100-year time cycle will increase 4% over the next decade. So just 4% over the next decade. And these algae toxins are also been identified in seal strandings in California. We had a lot of seal strandings in California, and the question was what was causing it, and it was the alga toxins. So not good news at all.
I'm just wondering why I can understand that NASA would be required to look back and see how much they've shrunk and that kind of thing. I'm wondering why NASA has to measure the temperature. Can't we measure the temperature here?
I believe they can do it more precisely. I don't know, but I believe they can do it more precisely.
Okay.
And they can make, well, what they can probably do perhaps is measure large bodies more quickly from space than you can from on the ground. So you can, you travel, the satellite is orbiting, so it's making constant observations of all the lakes around the world. So I'm going to guess you can gather the information far more quickly using satellites than on the ground.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And another wonderful story about one of the things you Australians know a lot about, invasive species. Now this was I think the Argentine Navy, and I don't know if we got the study here, but back in 1947, for some ungodly reason, the Argentine Navy imported 10 beavers. And now they're overrunning the Argentine forest. Chile and Argentina is now getting overrun by these North American beavers. Amazing.
That's the most bizarre thing I've heard all day.
Just like,
so what are they doing about it?
I don't know. I've actually kind of lost the line. Oh, no, it's here in the lineup.
Beaver on the
North American beaver. Let's see what it says here. An invasion. An invasion. What are they doing about it? All kinds of problems over 35 years. We know the beavers are there. Natural ecosystem engineers. They're doing terrific. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. let's see, get out of control. When they get out of control, which they are out of control, they're expanding northward. I'm not reading anything about what they can do to get rid of these
So they're
beavers.
just complaining about it at the moment. They're just saying,
No,
we got
it
you.
doesn't say. You know, if they've got like 5,000 and 10,000 beaver, it might be a little bit too late. Well, yeah, one thing that in the United States, the beaver almost went extinct because beaver skin became fashionable. People wanted beaver skin coats, beaver skin hats, and so the first mountain men, they went after the beaver. And the North American beaver almost became extinct. So I guess what you got to do in Argentina is make it a fashion statement.
Too hot. You can't wear fur down there.
Hey, why not? It gets cold. It gets cold in parts of Argentina. And you got the cowboys. What do they call them? The Argentine cowboys and the
Mountain. Yeah. Chelsea's reading her crocodiles and alligators book.
Crocodiles and alligators. Another invasive species, I'm sure you know about it, is the pythons. And the pythons have spread into our Everglades and are killing off the alligators.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How are they killing them personally, or are they just eating their food source?
They're killing them. I don't know how big of an alligator has to grow, but I think these pythons, maybe they can get to be 20 feet plus, and so they can eat certainly a 6 to 10, maybe even a 10-foot alligator. And if they eat all the little smaller alligators, then there's nothing left to become a big alligator.
Yeah, that would be gruesome to see. Gosh. That happens here, though. Our snakes eat our crocodiles. Yeah. I mean, some snakes die trying to eat a crocodile. They take on too much.
Mommy?
Hello.
Mommy?
Yes,
Now,
darling.
have you ever, the biggest alligators I've heard, crocs, we're talking, is the Australian saltwater croc. I don't think it's applicable in Africa, but I think this saltwater croc in Australia can get close to 30 feet.
Hello.
Yeah, they're huge.
Mommy?
They're like, and when you look at them, you know you're looking at a dinosaur. You know. They are.
And I saw a picture, and I must have been in an aquarium or something somewhere, where you had people in these cages in the water, and the crocs were next to them, and you could see just how ginormous the crocs were. But I don't know if I want to. I don't want to be in the water, even in a cage, with either a white shark or a croc. I mean, they're as big as white sharks.
Yeah, I wouldn't deliberately go looking for one. I mean, they're out my back now, out the door here. But yeah, I don't go looking for one. I don't think I'd deliberately swim in the cage next to one, just in case something happened. And have you seen the movie Deep Blue Sea?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That puts me off there. That's another one to go see, people. This is a movie review episode. Oh, shoes. My daughter's looking for her doll's shoes.
Okay. We can go. I've run out of stories. And I've got my homework for next week. I can do some research on this hornet's juice. See if we can, me and Justin and maybe you, we can get together and corner the franchise on this hornet's juice or something. Or be the supplier. I don't know. Mix some money.
Yeah, we could do that. But I mean, there already is a supplier. I don't know if they're looking to franchise it. We'll have to find out. See what we can do.
Okay. All right. Very interesting. Well, I really enjoyed this particular hangout.
Yeah, me too.
I'll see you next week.